And here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to BWTM Online. So here we are. The fight has been announced. Bermane Stiverne versus Joyce. Now, first of all, I want to take this moment to say thank you to Bermane Stiverne for doing the live and exclusive interview on BWTM Online, where he announced the fight. He announced the date. He announced the time where he'd be fighting, the location, the undercard of DeGale versus Eubank Jr. All those points were made very clear in the interview, yet there were some media sources that were still speculating whether this fight was going to happen. Joyce had confirmed the fight. Stiverne had confirmed the fight. And here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to BWTM Online. So here we are. Apologies for that. So the fight had been reported afterwards by media outlets. Some media outlets, once again, want to thank certain media outlets. Shout out to Hatman TV. Shout out to Ade, who does boxing online. Also, massive shout out to TalkSport, who took the time to give us the credit. Of course, they are the usual suspects within the boxing media who refuse to give out or where they get the sources from and say that they reported it, which is downright plagiarism. And it's fair enough, but it just shows a whole lack of professionalism. But I wanted to put that out there. But anyway, the fight is on between Joyce and Bermane Stiverne. Now, boxing fans throughout my years, particularly the last 3 to 4 years, find it very perplexing to understand what the boxing fan wants, or the fanatic or the fan or the casual. I'm not sure what they want, because I remember not too long ago, people were asking for Joyce to fight Bermane Stiverne. There were 2 fights that people wanted Stiverne to be in. 2 particular fights. Stiverne against Miller because of what happened in the gym, and Stiverne against Joyce. There were 2 fights that a lot of boxing fans were asking for, certainly on our channel when we've seen it against boxing forums. Now the fight has been announced. We're getting all the rhetoric of, oh, well, Stiverne's a bum, got knocked out in a round, and Stiverne's an old man, and Stiverne's washed up. Okay, fair enough. Let's break this all down. And first of all, let's give Joyce credit, right? 7 fights as a pro. You know, we had all the amateur experience without head guards, so we got to take that into consideration as well. Joyce is a top-class athlete. You know what I mean? This guy is well chiseled. He always comes into the ring in shape. Very well-conditioned athlete, you know, and he puts out a lot of punches. And being a professional boxer isn't easy. Let's get that straight away. 7 fights as a pro. And in his 8th fight, he's fighting a guy who's got good amateur pedigree, was world amateur champion, and fought in the world championships, was a pro, is a pro, has been a world champion. And the guy to beat him and stop him and knock him out as brutally as he did is arguably in the top 3 best heavyweights in the world. And this guy that has fought, who we got knocked out by, Deontay Wilder, could go down in history as one of the biggest punchers in boxing history, period. So it's not like Stiverne got chinned by a guy that we didn't know about. He got chinned by a guy who has chinned, who a lot of people think is the best heavyweight in the world, Tyson Fury. He dropped Tyson Fury twice in that fight. Yes, Tyson got up, but Tyson's not Stiverne. What I'm saying is, Wilder knocks people out, and he has a habit of knocking people out, render them unconscious. That's what he does. That's what Wilder does. So there should be no shame in what happened to Stiverne and Wilder. People will say, well, was he in the best shape possible for the fight? People will argue with Stiverne's shape. If Stiverne thinks that was the best shape he could possibly be in, and he was in great shape, then fine. That's what Stiverne believes. He's the fighter. He knows his body better than anybody else in the world. But, you know, I think that he is now 40. And the things that people point against Stiverne is a lack of activity. He hasn't fought since he got knocked out in a round by Deontay Wilder. You know, and then the fight before that, there was always a fight where he got knocked down by a guy who went to points and he beat, I can't remember what the guy's name was again. But the fact of the matter is, and then before that, obviously, Stiverne's fight. So Stiverne's been out with injuries. He has been injured previously. So that is something that also needs to be taken into consideration. But he's 40 years old. It isn't what boxing fans want to see. They want to see Stiverne fighting more regularly. And that is a knock. So he hasn't fought since he got knocked out by Wilder. On the flip side, Joyce has been active. He fought knocking out Joe Hanks the other day, which is a good win for him. Joe Hanks, I've actually met Joe Hanks as well. He's a lovely fella, nice guy. But again, Joe Hanks hadn't fought for a while. He's come back. Joyce was there, met him, did what he had to do. So Joyce has been chasing fights. Now, Otis is going to fight Hammer. Remember, Hammer's the guy that knocked out David Price. Then Tyson Fury schooled. So we'll see where Ortiz is with that. But Hammer has got a good chin. And Hammer also fought Povetkin as well, who Povetkin beat him as well. So we'll see where this is all going to go. But for me, Stiverne has said that on a number of occasions, he said about Joyce being very robotic in his actions. And he nicknamed him Robocop. For Joyce, he says he's referred to Stiverne as knocking his dreadlocks off. So obviously the two of them have some sort of disagreement, which is going to be played out on February the 23rd. I do want to mention something else as well about people getting knocked out. Like it's something that, you know, once you get knocked out, you're finished. There's a couple of fighters, British fighters indeed, that were knocked out. Lennox Lewis got knocked out in the second round against Oliver McCall. I know it was younger early in his career. He still came back and did something. Amir Khan, who's been knocked out, got knocked out by Prescott in the first round, came back, rebuilt his career, and has been knocked out several times, but yet people still champion his cause. I guess the difference between Stiverne and those guys is that those guys stayed active and Stiverne has not. So I guess when a guy's not active, there is the perception that he doesn't want to be a part of the fight game or that he's lazy. And so therefore, you know, that's the thoughts that people go through people's minds. But I think this is still a very good fight. I still think it's a very good fight. Joyce is not Deontay Wilder. I don't think Joyce will admit that himself. He's the juggernaut, and the Bronze Bomber is what he is. The Bronze Bomber is the WBC and still the WBC heavyweight champion of the world. Joyce is yet to fight for a world title. So Joyce is not, he's athletic, but he's not got the speed that Wilder would have. But he does have probably a higher output of punches than Wilder does. Wilder's probably a little bit more nimble in his feet, got faster reactions. Joyce is more what I would call consistent and steady. And Joyce would bludgeon you, which means he would overwhelm you with punches and stop you, as opposed to Wilder landing one shot and knock you out. So Stiverne in this fight, if he's going to have success, he's going to talk about in this fight, he's going to have to find a way of walking Joyce back to the rope. He's got to force Joyce back to ropes. That means Stiverne cannot allow Joyce to take center of the ring and use the jab on him and start to take down. If Joyce takes the center of the ring and forces Stiverne back, that's interesting because you see, when Stiverne is best when he's on the back foot countering. Short arms, but he has fast hands. Thing is, for this fight, it's whether Stiverne can capitalize on Joyce's weaknesses or his perceived weaknesses, according to how Stiverne says he's very robotic. So that's how it's going to have to play out. Stiverne is not a great fighter on his front foot. He's a counter puncher and he's pretty sharp with that left hook. If he can draw Joyce onto the left hook, then this fight could get interesting. But if he stands in the center of the ring as he did against Wilder, was coming straight forward and not slipping the jab and eating big right hands, he's going to find himself in trouble in this fight because of Joyce. I guess Joyce will probably not be a jump on Stiverne the same way, and if he does, he could walk into left hooks from Stiverne. Stiverne can punch. That's one thing he can do. He can crack. So he's dangerous in that sense. So if Joyce is going to win this fight, it's by overwhelming Stiverne with punches. And Joyce is going to come into the ring in tremendous shape. So it's just how big a puncher is Joyce is at world level. We know what he can do at British level or around the Commonwealth level. Now he's fighting a guy who is still considered, well, I don't know if he's still considered, but considered a former world heavyweight champion. And his only real defeat was against Deontay Wilder, like I've said before. So we're looking at a situation here where you've got an older fighter in Stiverne, an older fighter. CBTV, salute. How are we doing, my friend? I hope you're well. What we've got here in the situation is that Stiverne, it's whether he can roll back the clock, roll back the years. He may feel he doesn't need to roll back the years. He looks at Joyce with 7 fights. Does he look at that with contempt? Now, does that knockout defeat shake things up in Stiverne's camp? Does Stiverne think to himself, boy, I didn't expect that to happen. He's had some time to think, regroup, and come again. Now, that might be the case. That he's had time to regroup, heal, and prepare. Nobody knows, honestly, what kind of shape Stiverne's going to be in come fight night. I guess people's last image, and you can't blame them, the last image they see of Stiverne is getting knocked out in a round by Joyce. So, although I think Stiverne is the A side in this fight, simply because he's been a former WBC world champion and he's been in the bigger fights, it will be Joyce that will come into this fight as the head favorite and potentially heavy favorite based on Stiverne's last performance, based on Stiverne's lack of activity, and based on Joyce's momentum. So that's kind of where it is. I'm not so sure what, if Joyce wins this fight, what he gains out of it, because, well, people say, well, if he doesn't stop him in a round, then people say, well, he's not very good because of what Wilder did, and I think it's an unfair comparison. And if Joyce loses to Stiverne, then where does that put Joyce's career? So I think it's a ballsy move by Joyce. I do, because it has the air of danger right there. It's not like he's fighting a powder puff puncher. It's a dangerous fight. And if Stiverne comes motivated, and Stiverne is fit, and Stiverne is in shape, and Stiverne is mentally switched on for a fight, and if he's those things, and he has anything, and he's 40 now, if he has anything left in the tank, only he will know that, then we could have a very good fight here, because he's got the grudge there already. And I don't think Stiverne's going to want to come all the way to the UK to disgrace himself. I think he's going to come and put up a real hell of a fight. So this fight could go it could go any way. There's heavyweights in there, and one punch with Stiverne, the last thing a fighter has is loses his big punch. So we'll see. We'll see. The fight's on February 23rd. Tonight we'll have Bermane Stiverne live at BWTM Online. He'll be live here at 11 p.m. So I'm looking forward to find out what's going on with Bermane, what's going on. I'm not seeing no posts or anything of his training camp, whether he's kept that quiet. I've heard people make comments like, oh, yeah, Stiverne posts his videos of his training camp for the first Wilder fight and then doesn't train at all. So I've heard that stuff before. But tonight we'll ask him those questions and more. So get your questions down for Stiverne. We'll have him tonight here live from Vegas at 11 p.m. Hello, Cameron. How we doing? I feel Joyce wins. Stiverne is a solid step up. I think he is a solid step up. I have to agree with you there. I think it's a solid step up, Cameron. I would like to see in this fight in two eras. I'd love to see Stiverne Joyce as amateurs. I would love to see that fight as amateurs. And then as pros, I would like to see Stiverne in shape, Stiverne, when he fought Areola around that time. That Stiverne fighting Joe Joyce. Activity is key here. But look, if Stiverne were to come to the UK and shock Joe Joyce, what would people say? Will people say that Joe Joyce was overrated? Will they say Stiverne was underrated? And if Stiverne loses, but he loses in a close fight to Joe Joyce, what will Boxing Fight say then? Bermane's been saying he'll knock Joe Joyce out than Joshua. Yeah, I've heard that, but we're going to hear tonight from the man himself. But, you know, this fight should be of, for those people who've been on the BWTM channel, who followed the Stiverne, because when we covered Stiverne fight right up to the night before the Wilder fight, will know that there's always been something in the ear of Joe Joyce and Stiverne. Now, I do know that I spoke previously to Stiverne when I talked about Joe Joyce, and he really didn't care too much about Joe Joyce. So I think there is obviously something there, but hey, I don't know if it's a personal thing. I don't know what it is. I don't know what's really gone on, but we're going to find out soon enough. Almost like De Gale, you know what? We could call it the card of rumors. As Joe Joyce said, he punched the dreadlocks off the Stiverne. Stiverne saying something different. And then De Gale saying one thing happened in sparring, and Eubank saying something else happened in sparring. So it should be, the card should be called Sparring Stories Confirmed ? At the O2 Arena. Stiverne gets full credit if he wins this fight because Joyce is being hyped up big time and no one believes in Stiverne now. I know, no one believes in him, but it's interesting. As you say this, Cameron, it's interesting you say that because it's interesting. I think people, I don't do overnight friends. I'll say this much. I don't do overnight friends, and I don't do usury. I really don't. And this whole idea that you know, I don't know how to put it out there, but people only want to know you users only want to know you when you have something for them. Otherwise, they don't give a damn. I'll say as much as that. So I understand totally why boxing fans see Joe Joyce and where Joe Joyce is. I really get it. And he has been touted as something special. He's got a good background for that. He's been delivering the goods. This is his step-up fight. So we're going to see, in this fight, we're going to see, you know, if Stiverne can push him, because we don't know what Stiverne is about now. If Stiverne can push him, we're going to find out. And Stiverne lands on Joyce's chin. What he's like if he takes a good shot. What he's like when he's put under pressure. We may find that out, but then we may find out nothing. We may get a fight where Joe Joyce just plugs forward and just lands punches and wins the fight, which a lot of people expected. There's some people who think that Joyce is going to win this fight in a round. I'm not so sure. I'm not sure if Joyce has. I know Joyce has got. He has an output of punches, which is a lot. I just don't think that Joyce has the speed of punch, or he's athletic, but he's a different type of athletic compared to Deontay. You know, Deontay's more smoother in his movements. And the other thing that's going to be interesting is obviously Abel Sanchez. Abel Sanchez is key to this fight as well, because Abel Sanchez, as we know, his guys are power punchers and go forward and go for the knockout. That is Abel Sanchez. The A plan in Abel Sanchez is perfect. But the B plan, when it's not going right for Abel Sanchez fighters, there seems to be a disconnect between him and his fighters. It's as if he's on Mars and they're on Jupiter. And I love Abel, and you know, I would say to him if I got an interview with him, it just seems And there's been a number of fighters of recent times with Abel who he's talking to them and he's saying, look, this is a situation here. I do want, he's pleading with them. Listen, are you going to fight or do we have to go home? And it's like just no response. The fighter seems to fight in the same patterns over and over again. I don't know. It's down to Abel Sanchez. I don't know. It's down to the training camps. I don't know. But it's been more than one. If it had just been one fighter, I would have understood. There is only 3, 4, 5 fighters, and the same pattern seems to be happening in fights. I don't know. Stiverne will turn up. Do you want me to? Stiverne will turn up fat and out of shape. Well, yeah, I guess there's always somebody who's going to say that, and I guess that's probably. I mean, if you think about that in the manner you think about, what do you gain for putting that out into the universe? Stiverne's going to come in fat and out of shape. If you put that into the universe, why do you want to see that fight? I don't want to see that fight. I want Stiverne to be in the best shape possible. I don't want him to come fat and out of shape. Why do I want that? Boxing fans are real silly sometimes because you'll say, yeah, I want to see Stiverne versus Joyce. Then when the fight's announced, like, yeah, but he's going to come out fat and out of shape. I mean, well, you want competitive fights. That's what the fight game wants. The fight game wants big fights. And why do you want that? You want your British guy tested. You want the guy in the UK to be in a good fight. I want Joyce to be in a good fight. I'm sure Joe Joyce wants to be in a good fight because if Joe Joyce is in a good fight, it gives Joe Joyce momentum moving forward. But he'll get the other fights. Personally, I think this shouldn't be an undercard fight. I think this should be a main event fight, personally, because if you think about it, Joe Joyce has been on headlining fights on TV for much less, against much lesser opposition. He got TV time for the Lewson fight in his pro fight. Lewson had never fought for a world title. Lewson was never a world champion. Lewson was never a world amateur champion. So, Joe Joyce, in my opinion, this fight should be a main event fight. No disrespect to Gale and Eubank, because I think that's a main event in itself. But I think this fight should be a main event. I really do. But I don't do it. It's down to ITV and Al Heyman, but I think it's a main event. Abel, do you want me to stop this fight, Sanchez? Well, it's kind of got like that now, hasn't it, Cameron? It has got like that. So, look, I love Abel. I think Abel Sanchez is great for the game. It's great for boxing because it gives you a trader that's got a little bit more to say than we train to a game plan and blah blah blah. We get a little bit more from Abel, and he's been around the game a while. So, I think he's a top class trainer. I just think that. I don't know if it's a disconnect with his fighters and him. I don't know if it's a miscommunication. I don't know his language barriers. I don't know what it is, but he just can't seem to get his. If it's not going right in a fight, Abel Sanchez fight that seem to jack him. I don't know. I don't know why that is. So, I'm not suggesting Joe Joyce is like that. I'm just saying there's been a history of that. But yeah, I think that going with Abel Sanchez is going to make Joe Joyce an even more exciting fighter. So, look, but Joe Joyce, again, he's no spring chicken. He's not like 21, 23. This guy's got amateur experience. So, and he's fought with head guards as an amateur as well. So, I think in this fight, he's got lots of world-class experience. So he's no novice in this situation. Abel couldn't give Gassiev anything against Usyk. No adaptation tactics at all. Gassiev lost heart because he couldn't get advice from his corner. Well, this is what I'm saying, and this is the concern. So I like to look at all sort of angles for the fight. Let's say, for example, it might not go this way. Let's say Joe Joyce has got a difficult, because so far he's had no problems, and you can't really tell how good your relationship is with your trainer until you're under some sort of pressure, under some sort of situation. If it so happens that Joe Joyce has to go back to the corner, right? Because we don't know what Joe Joyce is like if he has to change the game plan. If he, for example, is in this fight against Stiverne, and for example, Stiverne's come in great shape and he's rolled back the years, and Joyce is coming in, he's getting keep getting tagged with a left hook. Now we've seen in fights that I've commentated in previously where you can see the punches coming, you can see the fighter keep walking onto the same punch, and you can see they're going back to the corner, and you can see the trainer saying nothing to them, or saying to them, giving them instructions which are completely opposite to what they should be doing, or completely avoid. Like he's hit with 3 clean right hands and his legs are almost gone. Goes back to the corner, and the trainer says, "Oh yeah, get on the jab." Doesn't say anything about keeping up. You know, keep your hand up, keep your hands up, or circle away from the right hand, or clinch and hold and tie yourself up and get your head clear. None of that. Get back out there and use the jab. And so we'll see what this relationship between Abel Sanchez and Joe Joyce is. We'll see. If Joe Joyce goes out and puts an explosive performance against Stiverne, I still give him credit because he stepped up, because it is a step-up fight. So those are my thoughts for the fight. Stiverne's best fight, best chance in this fight will be to catch Joyce as he's coming in. If Joyce gets a bit too greedy coming forward, that's where Stiverne's going to catch him. I don't see Stiverne winning this fight in the middle of the ring using the jab. He's got to be off the back foot, short, sharp counters with the left hook, drawing Joyce on. Let Joyce come forward and on the counter. That's going to be a strategy. I can't see any other strategy from Stiverne. Yeah. So that's it, really. Those are my thoughts on the fight. Thank you for listening in. And I'll see you at 11 p.m. tonight for Stiverne live on BWTM Online. See you soon.